On task of what we have to do tonight. Let me make a couple announcements. Cypress is one that will be taking care of our video for us. He is our representative for videotaping all of the presentations. No faces or nothing like this, just the presentations. And right now, that will be the only person that will be doing this. I'll be meeting with community service, Sheila, and some other people to find out, because we got individuals that want to do a videotaping and put it on Facebook. And we had talked about that once before, but I'm going to meet with them and come back with a report on that at our next meeting, because we need clarification. When we set up with one person to do the videotaping, that is what we're supposed to have. Not everybody in the room doing videotaping and trying to put it on Facebook, because a whole lot of people don't like to go on Facebook. So you brought that up once before. So I will get a clarification on that by the next meeting. But for your information, please set up so you can see you. He is the one responsible for the videotaping of our thing. He's been through the training and things, so we selected him to do that. Okay? Now, there might be some snags in there, but we'll work with him. Okay, no problem with that. Okay.
We get it better.
That's right. Every day we get it better. Okay, let us open up with a word of prayer, please. Oh, Father, first of all, we just want to say thank you. Thank you for blessing us from our last meeting up to the time that we return this time. We ask you to come into our meeting that we may agree and disagree in love. Bless all the citizens that are here, and Lord, bless the ones that's on the way. We ask you to bless the facilitators for tonight and make sure that what we are doing, that we all stay on task, that we will do the right thing. We thank you for everything. We thank you for your goodness, your mercy, and your grace. This is our prayer. We ask in your name. Amen. Amen. All right. First of all, I'd like to welcome all of you here to our meeting tonight. We do have I know one guest that is here. Most of you know our former county commission, Caroline Sullivan. She's visiting with us tonight. And don't forget, anyone can visit any of the meetings that we have. When we start into our rezoning, I would like to ask that we do it like we did before. Please wait till after these rezoning cases are presented before we ask the question. Let them finish, whoever's doing a report, let them finish that report. That will not hold us up on what we need to do. Do not interrupt any facilitators, anyone that's giving a report. We got the people that are here tonight, the ones that you asked. Because we asked David Eatman, who is from the city, to talk about transportation and our bus things there. And we got other people here. We got Neil to come back for another vote on one that you voted down last month. We have Beth and her crew that's here. This is their third time. And they're going to give you, and I'll make an announcement before they come up about what they are going to do. But when I look at, I'll just say we welcome everybody here, and I'm going to let Adams come up and give, while he's on the way up here, I just want to let you know, I did get a notification on the burning of our shed back there, not the shed, but the picnic area. The city has signed a contract with someone to do the demolition, but as of today, they have not been out here to do it. So I just want to let you know there's a contract on that to do the demolition of that building. And then after they do the demolition of the building, we'll go back and find out when they will start rebuilding another building back there. And I want to bring that up. Okay, Adam?
Just to go, I know we are in design phase. We're going back and forth with contractors on design for the shelter, so we're kind of working out some of those details. So again, hopefully within the next week or so, the shelter will be demoed and kind of look a little nicer back there. At least you'll have like a flat area and you won't have a burned building and a fence around there. Other things, we are ending school tomorrow, so after school will end here tomorrow. We'll get about 3 days of getting our staff ready to transition over to summer camp. Summer camp with City of Raleigh will start on Monday, June 17th, and we'll go for 9 weeks. So here at this building, 7 o'clock, 7:30 until 6 in the evening. We will have kids, as many as 28 kids as in our staff. We'll have 4 counselors, a director, and some summer youth. So Raleigh Summer Youth Program will send us 4 of their counselors as well. Working with kids, going on field trips, doing activities here, just a typical summer camp thing here. So feel free if you want to stop in and see what the kids are up to. Just keep keeping them active and busy. That is the main update here for the summer. When we come back in, I don't know if I'll be able to do it before then. We will be doing a Touch a Truck event in September. There'll be flyers around the building, kind of promoting that, leading up to that. We will have another STEM night in June. June 28th, we have another STEM night. Working with Raleigh Digital Connectors, they'll come out and we'll be partnering also with the Marbles Museum for that event. So the community can come out and do some STEM-based activities. Just one last update for me personally. I'm going to be going out on paternity leave. My wife's having a baby. So for the next 2 meetings, I will not be here. Calvin over at Roberts Park will be covering the building and the camp while I'm out. So more than likely you'll see Calvin at those meetings. But the building is in good hands. Any questions or anything before I step away?
The cost for the summer camp.
The summer camp is, I believe most of the weeks are full here, but I believe it's 34 a week. If you want more details, I have a book that we have with everything, all camps for here and throughout the city. Okay, thank you.
You enjoy your maternity leave.
Thank you.
All right. You know, we always have our RPD officer Leggett to come up and give. And I'm not going to make the statement. I'm going to call him up. He has a statement that he wants to make to you all tonight. So, Officer Leggett.
And I'll introduce him.
Okay.
If y'all remember me.
And he'll introduce it. Okay, good.
If y'all remember me, I'm Ken Kos-Weller. I'm one of the community sergeants here in the Southeast District, along with Derek Falcon. But I wanted to introduce a newly civilian Taylor Leggett to the front to have a few words before I get into crime stats and all that stuff.
You all heard him say it's a B. So he's got something to tell us. Go ahead.
So I am no longer with the police department. I've decided to leave and pursue real estate. It gives me a little bit more time with Cameron and a little bit more flexibility. So I didn't want to leave and not say anything to anyone and just disappear. So I wanted to stop by and say I appreciate all you guys did for me. You made my job as easy as it could be, and I thank you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Weeks, can I have 30 seconds? Please. A little birdie kind of let the cat out of the bag before he told me, and I had some time. I know you didn't have time, so I went ahead and did this on behalf of the South CAC. We're really going to miss you. So we have some things to help you get transitioned to your new life. One of them is a nice little card, and we want everybody to sign it, so you'll get this later, okay? The other thing is, you've got a new partner now, so you need Superman socks and Supergirl socks too. This is your honey-do list for your parents and your wife to make sure you do all the things you're going to have so much time to do now. And we can't forget about the doggy. So we have doggy treats, and so that you don't get lazy, poop bags when you walk the dog. Okay? So thank you. We're going to miss you, and we'll give you the card some way afterward.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Also on that same thing, we want to invite you back. We want to do something personal for she brought some things in and did that, but we want to follow up with that because you've been an outstanding officer and you've been taking care of it, and we'll get with you. You'll still be in town. We'll tell you when to come back for a little while.
All right, I will.
Okay? All right.
Thank y'all so much.
Now we get to the officer report.
So I'll talk real briefly about the crime stats. There's some other things I wanted to make sure that you all knew about that are coming up pretty quick that we knew about for a while, but the timing has just accelerated a little bit. So if you look at your crime stats for the past month, I wanted to touch on just real quickly the residential burglaries and the robberies for this CAC area. So the burglaries are stayed the same over the past month. Of course, that's always something we're worried about, especially as one of them occurred at night while the residence was occupied. So, not sure if that person was under the influence or something, but they somehow got into the apartment and realized that the person on the couch was probably not the person that they were supposed to be meeting with, so they quickly vacated the residence before they were able to steal anything. So we think it's more along the lines of somebody thinking they were at a certain apartment and broke in and realized they were in the wrong one and got out pretty quick. One of the burglaries was an unlocked window, and another one was a domestic related, so it was an ex-boyfriend that attempted to break into the house, and she scared him off. Robberies, we had a internet cafe just down Rock Quarry Road that was robbed at 3 a.m. A customer came in, was buzzed in by the employees. They didn't see outside that there was two other guys that had kind of snuck up behind him and came in the door behind him and robbed the place. So we've spoken with the owner, suggested some improved lighting, putting in like a second door so that you have to get buzzed in through two doors, so at least they can see who that person is before they really allow them in. Sort of the way that we're set up in most of our district stations. Another one was a Craigslist. I think it was Craigslist. It was one of those types of sell stuff over the internet. And this person agreed to meet on a lowly court in their car. Somebody came running up and stuck a gun in their face. He actually grabbed the gun away from the guy. And of course, at that point, he took off. And, so they never did rob him for sure. But so we got there, ran the serial number on the gun, and of course, it's stolen out of another county. So I know we've harped for months and months, and we're preaching to the choir, but a lot of these guns that are 565 or so, I think we've taken off the streets this year alone for many different reasons. But a lot of those that are stolen out of cars, unlocked cars, houses where they're not secured properly, are then being used to commit crimes like this. So the big news we wanted to make sure you all knew about was the face-to-face meetings that are coming up starting later this week. So if you remember, about 3 years ago, we had some face-to-face meetings with the chief, command staff, all the community officers in the entire department, and we hold them at big venues, and we just invite the entire public to come. We're going to talk about some traffic data and the several years long where we've looked at our data and had an outside company come in and compare us to other cities and kind of get that out in the public face to face. But also, you're welcome to bring your own ideas, issues, questions, comments, whatever you want to these face-to-face meetings as well. So they will be, the first one's going to be this Thursday. They're all from 6:30 to 8:30 at night. Hopefully it works a little bit better for folks, especially with it still being light out at that time. McKimmon Center is going to host the first one this Thursday. Next, the 18th, we're going to hold one at the Hilton Garden Inn, Crabtree, off of Arrow Drive near 440 in Glenwood. And then June 20th will be at the Convention Center. And we've already started pushing that out to our social media, Facebook, Instagram. We'll get it out on Nextdoor as well and try to spread the word as quick as possible. I know it feels last minute, especially for this one on Thursday, but it just happened that we're cycling back through the CAC, so this is the first time we were able to tell you about it. Other than that, does anyone have any questions for me?
On those dates that he mentioned, I brought a copy of that in too.
Okay.
I'm gonna have that Xerox so that people can get copies of those dates, dates talking about meeting with the host.
Very good.
Yes, we were and more likely a legend that Officer Leggett put down at the bottom of the report here.
Yes.
Of what all these codes mean, so we don't have to ask.
Yeah, we had the other thing I forgot to mention is that the chief moved 4 officers over to our squad. The same week that Taylor was
To
leaving.
replace him?
Gotta make him feel good. But so today was their first day,
Okay.
and I wish I had been able to put a little bit more work into that and follow up on that, but I did do some research on the calls, so I could get the information to you all, but we will have another officer assigned starting next month, but the sergeants will occasionally be here as well to follow up. And the other thing we're gonna start doing is comparing the past month to the previous year's past month, so that you can see the year trend as well as the month-to-month trend. And hopefully it'll help a little bit more with kind of see how the neighborhoods are going. All right.
If you can, I got it, you gotta call it.
Yes.
There's been a car that's been abandoned over at Billmore Hills at the corner of Hadley Road and Dangertown. And it's been there about a month. It's a flat tire,
Okay.
wreck on the left side. And it sat there for 3 weeks without being taken. I saw an officer in Billmore Hills Park last Sunday, told him about it. He went over and tagged it. So it's been tagged for a week.
Is that a white car?
Red and
Okay.
So it's been tagged for about a week now. It's been there for a month,
Okay.
right at the intersection.
All right. We'll get some out there tomorrow. Appreciate that. All right.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Comment, and you have permission to leave when you want. Since you got the little, you got the sergeant with you.
Yeah, it's my new sergeant.
Okay.
I'm gonna step towards the back in case,
Okay.
just in case.
All right. All right. Okay, now we have code enforcement. Fabian, give your report. First of all, I appreciate you taking care of some of the calls that I made in. I really appreciate you doing that.
How you guys doing tonight? Thank you. In line with what Mr. Wicks just said, I do appreciate all of your concerns, your phone calls, text messages, emails. I think this month we have done quite a bit of cleaning up, and Ms. Alexandra has helped me big time. We have recently spoken with the owner of the gas station right here, Lyndhurst and Road Quarry, and there were illegal dumping, maybe 20 tires, branches encroaching onto the sidewalk, trash, litter, and they willingly clean all those violations in a matter of days. And in 2 days, it's a brand new quarter. So that's, and I appreciate that concern you had. And we had another one for some branches.
Right, cross-linking. The one that I called in.
Yes.
They're blocking the drainage.
Yes.
Somewhat, right, yes.
Definitely. I'm working on that one right now.
Yeah, okay.
And there was another one where there were branches encroaching from a private property into another private property from a citizen here last meeting. And in those cases, if you have any branches from a tree encroaching onto your property, the city can do nothing about that. That will become a civil matter. You have to talk to your neighbor and potentially take him to court if it comes down to that. But the city will help you when there are branches encroaching onto a right-of-way, or there is a bus station and you know there is a tree nearby that could potentially fall. The city will definitely get involved with that. There is a phone number I'd like you to have in case there is a tree that is endangering the public safety. It's a department within the city. It's 919-996-4115. This is the city arborist. They'll send an inspector out. They'll make an inspection and decide if the tree needs to be trimmed back, cut down. And in the instance that the property owner, if it's in private property, does not obey the order, the ruling of the tree department, then they will contact us to enforce the cleanup. We then get a contractor and get it taken care of. But it is only them that have that license, they have that experience in dealing with the trees. But if there are some vegetation some vines, some small vegetation encroaching onto a sidewalk. That pertains to our department. We want to make sure that your sidewalks are clean of any vegetation encroaching onto them. Not branches, but small vegetation. By all means, call me. I can talk to the homeowner and cite them if necessary to make sure your sidewalks are clean. I don't think we didn't have anything else from last meeting, but are there any questions or concerns you'd like me to check on? Yes, sir.
Okay, go down Rock Quarry Road, going before you turn left on Interlock. If you come out Interlock and turn back right, there's some vines growing over, and it's a hill where the cars coming. You cannot see the cars because of the vines and the trees laying over.
Okay. That was Rock Quarry.
Rock Quarry and Interlock. Okay. If you coming out and go turn left, you look left, you can see the top of the hill because of cars for the vines.
In this instance, I'm gonna go take a look at it, and I might have the transportation department involved, because they're the ones that make a study. If the site is obstructed, then they'll make a judgment. They'll let me know, and then we contact the homeowner. So I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, that's a dangerous intersection too, and the light is up there, real bad.
Thank you, sir.
Also, the sidewalk on Rock Quarry Road that's right up at Fox Ridge, as you cross over a little a drainage place, it's always full of mud, and you can't even see the sidewalk. So.
That is one that Mr. Wick was talking about.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
And
You see a follow-up on it.
yes, I'm working on that situation at the moment.
All right.
I'm from Granite Ridge and, maybe get right off the Rock Quarry. What can we do about cars parking across the sidewalks where children have to walk to and from school in our neighborhood?
Are there cars on the street?
They are blocked, they're parking across the sidewalks into that driveway, or onto that driveway.
That would be an issue for zoning department.
Okay.
They have some regulations where they like you to park on the driveway, not the sidewalk, or on your lawn. The number is on the agenda.
There's an ordinance on that. You can only park on the sidewalk when you're unloading.
Right.
Maybe someone. That's a city ordinance.
I just want to be able to get some information and pass it out to everyone in the neighborhood.
Okay. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Never mind, I do have it. The name of the person, of the director there is Mr. Robert Pierce. And if you give him a call and give him the information, he will send an inspector out to check. His office number is 919-996-2474. So the minute you see that, try to contact him. So maybe an inspector can actually see it, because what happens many times is people move their car and there is no way to enforce a regulation.
Wouldn't that be a code violation?
In their code, yes, in the zoning, in the code enforcement, public nuisance, we don't have nothing that pertains to the parking. Anyways, thank you for all your comments, and I appreciate it.
Appreciate everything you did. You got one more?
Yeah.
in
The
there.
telephone number that you gave us, can you give that, and that's your direct number? The one that you gave us in the beginning? The first number was yours?
No, the first number I gave was to the tree department within the city. That is 919-996-4115.
4115. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And his number is on your agenda.
Okay,
Fabian's number is on your
all
agenda.
right. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Now we will have David Eatman, who is from the city of Raleigh Transportation. Oh, you want to give your part? You got it.
Just 5 minutes.
Pam wanted to give her little part here. Go ahead.
My little part. Hi, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, I am Pam Adderley. I am your community relations analyst, so I am your liaison to the city and any services or resources you need. I'm also the person that helps you guys spend your community awareness funds. So we talked last time, and I went back and got a little bit more time. So today is the day. So I'll put something together just so you guys can decide. You guys have about $800, okay? And I put together just so you can see some ideas, okay? So you guys decide. Okay, so these are some retractable signs. So you have the feather sign, that's the one on the left, and then the one on the right is retractable, and they both come with cases. And so together, they're under $400. Okay, so you can get one or both of those. You have these bags. You see, they're only $2.19 a piece. If you buy 100, and that's the least that you can buy. So you're talking a couple $100 there. A different bag, a little less money, but the minimum is also $150. So that's about $250. Then you have these cups. They are a little over $2, so, and there's a minimum of 100, so $230 for that. These little portable carrying bottles, they roll up. They are about $2, and you guys, there's 100 minimum on that. And then these notebooks, so when you're in your CAC, if you like to take notes, you can get those. They're $250 a piece, and it's 100 minimum on those. All right, so you have $800. Tell me what you want to spend. Remember, you'll get another $1,000 after July. Okay. All right. So, how many folks do you guys, as a group, do you guys want these types of signs? One can be in the inside. You can have one, you can have the feather one on the outside because it has a base, right? Or you can have the other one on the inside that will advertise your meeting, you know, coming up for any citizens that come in and out of the center, okay? And remember, they both have cases, the bags, this one, the bottle, this portable, this roll-up bottle, and the books. $800.
Now on the bags, like we used to have on the bags, we used to have the South CAC on it.
I'm sorry. This is just an example. Of course, it'll have your information on there. And that bag is this size. So I had them send a sample. Okay, so that's this size. Which this, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, okay, so they're around the same size pretty much. This one is maybe a couple inches taller, but so how many of you think that you want the signs? Do you think that the signs, or would you like your chair to make the decision? You all tell me. Chair? Yes.
Who's going to be responsible for taking and putting up the signs and taking down the signs?
Well, that's a good question. Are you volunteering?
No.
Okay. Well, that's up to you guys. That's up to you guys.
Sure.
We're already doing that with some of the signs. Okay. Volunteers in our neighborhood, we are putting up the signs in our areas.
Okay.
So there will be no problem with that, right?
Okay.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
many signs are you talking about?
You can get one. You can get two. You can get one of each. You can get two. Any variety you want, you all can get.
And there's a case, you said?
Yes, there's a zip case, and they're portable and very easy.
My suggestion is one sign and then maybe some of those cups or drinking bottles. One, some of each. You said our minimum would be 100 of the cups that we drink, the drinking.
Right. They sell them at a minimum order of 100, but you can get 200, but you just can't get under 100. Okay, so here's what we do. You guys have seen it. We'll let the rest of the agenda go, and then at the end, you guys have had a chance to think about it. All right, sound good?
All right. All right. Back at the end.
All right, great. Sure.
Anything else, Pam?
No, sir. I'm sorry. That's it. All right. Oh, David. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
What about the signs, the smaller community signs?
Okay, so, I don't know, do you guys have any more of those, yard signs?
I think we gave
I
them
think
all
you
out
guys
at the
still
last
have some
meeting.
in the, oh, you gave them all
I
out?
think we might have a couple left, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, we can look at
The reason why, so this was the condition, that I could have more time if we ordered from this place. So this is the place where I gathered. But, you know, we had a deal for those signs last time, and I think we can probably get that again. So if you want to order more signs, let's do it after July. More than yard signs.
Before we get to David, I do have another, I'm gonna have Adam to run this off. I got another email, Help Shape the Future of Southeast Raleigh. And they're talking about when they're having that meeting. And I had a question to ask about places at, because I want to let you know the study area on this will be roughly bounded by Southeast Raleigh, Wake County boundary with Johnston County, Pool Road, Smithfield Road, and Old Balcom Road. So I'm have to run off a copy of this. If some of you want to, because we only had one, and that meeting was this past Saturday at Bardwell Road. The other was at Smithfield Road, and then they have Anderson Point and some other places that we have. But I give you a copy of this, and if you decide you want to go to that. All right, David, even from the City of Raleigh Transportation Department. I forgot what they done had a big change there. I don't know what his title is now. When I was on the city council, he was in charge of all that. So.
That's right. I was a transit administrator. They changed it to assistant transportation director. But the main thing is that we handle transit within the city of Raleigh. But we do that certainly in the partnership of a greater transit system network in the Triangle. We all use a Go brand, and we use a website called Go Forward. And so check that out. So goforward.org. But certainly we're part of a larger network. Tonight I'm going to show you some of the exciting things that we have going on in Raleigh and with Go Raleigh. Hopefully everybody's seen the Go Raleigh buses. It's kind of hard to miss, 40-foot bus. We're switching our fleet over to compressed natural gas. So hopefully you've seen those as well. But I'll kind of go through some of the things that we've got going on now, and certainly hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for some questions as well. Real quick, I'm going to just give a quick presentation on some of the things we've done this year, but mostly our 2020 work plan, which is coming up really fast. I think that this fiscal year, the past fiscal year in my career, which started quite a long time ago, I started in transit, well, anyway, quite a long time ago, and this particular fiscal year has gone by so quickly. We have done quite a few improvements. We still have a long way to go. Much more work to do, but it's been an exciting year. And these are just some of the things that we'll talk about. Our operating program, our capital program, and some of our technology projects as well that are exciting. None of this, well, I can't say none of this. Certainly the City of Raleigh has had a transportation network, but certainly the Wake County Transit Plan really catapulted our ability to provide transit and transit infrastructure in a new way that we haven't experienced within Wake County, and certainly not in the City of Raleigh. So certainly without that, we wouldn't be standing here, or I wouldn't be standing here talking about all of these exciting opportunities before us. But just to kind of step back a minute, the Wake County Transit Plan really talked about connecting the region. So we're not talking about just City of Raleigh, we're talking about connecting counties together. And so we want to make sure that we're looking beyond our own borders, and how can we make sure that the citizens have opportunities well beyond the City of Raleigh. Connect all Wake County communities. As you're aware, we've got quite a few within Wake County, and all of them deserve some level of service. So we're working on that, connecting all of those municipalities in some way. Creating a frequent and reliable urban mobility network. Part of that is, we'll talk about it in a minute, is bus rapid transit with frequent network in those corridors. But also we're going from around 17 miles of 15-minute headway service to about 87 miles of frequent service, which means a bus comes every 15 minutes. So really starting to concentrate on providing a frequent network that can link major employment centers, retail centers, and certainly housing to jobs, but doing that in a way that is convenient, much more convenient than we've ever experienced before, and enhancing access to transit. And as you can see in that picture, and something very close to, I'm sure, Mr. Weeks' heart, is bus shelters and bus infrastructure, and the importance of providing that passenger experience, really trying to make sure that we're taking care of our existing passengers, but we also want to provide that experience. We have many people moving from areas in the United States that are quite honestly used to a much higher level of service and infrastructure than we currently have. We're playing a little bit of catch up, but we'll get there. So what are we doing this fiscal year? Well, we've got new service going to Garner. That's currently the 102 route, but we'll actually be expanding that service. It will be an all-day service where that's an express service now. So areas like White Oak Shopping Center and areas like that will have an all-day service where that is currently just an express service in the mornings and evenings. We'll actually have a service that runs from Triangle Town Center to Rollsville. That's connecting the communities. You may say, well, why would you run to Rollsville? There's not a lot of population there. But if you look at Rollsville from a population growth standpoint, it's probably one of the fastest growing on a percentage basis of any of the municipalities that we have out there. So we're looking to the future. While we want to make sure that people have a park and ride opportunity from those locations into town. Also, some of these smaller areas are looking at developing in-town or community circulators so that they can circulate and then provide passengers to a network and then use that network to enter a larger system or a regional system, quite honestly, across the triangle. And then we've got all-day service to Knightdale, where currently that is also an express service. The town of Knightdale has, actually the Wake Transit Plan acknowledged that did deserve all-day service. The town of Knightdale, we've worked with them very closely. They're excited about this service as well. That will link with our Go Raleigh service, which is on New Bern Avenue and New Hope Road and New Bern Avenue. And we'll actually talk about a new community transit center at that location in a moment as well. But that will be an all-day service that we're adding this fiscal year. Again, if you go to our website, which is raleighnc.gov/transit, there's a couple of things that you can look up. If you go to Raleigh's website, you can look up transit and you can find out about all of the regional routes and improvements that are happening, not just in Raleigh, because I'm keeping my focus pretty tight tonight with the amount of time we have, but it's going to talk about service improvements throughout the county. So what are some of the capital projects that we have going on? Well, we're certainly looking at enhancing transfer points. We've identified 5 locations where we already have major transfer opportunities throughout our network. Our first, though, major transfer point overhaul is going to be at MLK and Rock Quarry Road. So we actually have 2 shelters there currently on each side of Rock Quarry Road at that location. What we're looking to do is replace those facilities and make those facilities larger, but at what we would call our enhanced transfer points, we're also looking at things like enhanced lighting. We're looking at real-time passenger information signage, much like you see at Go Raleigh Station, where you see a monitor and it says next bus and it gives you the time that the bus will be there along with the route that's serving it. So it would also have that. We'll also look at that pedestrian intersection. I know that there's ped signals there now, but we'll make sure that with that type of investment and encouraging passengers to use that intersection to cross back and forth depending upon which way they're going in the network, we want to make sure that that particular intersection is in good shape from a pedestrian standpoint. And certainly our funds can help, probably not completely fund an entire intersection, but we can make enhancements to improve pedestrian access. And we're also looking for a new Go Raleigh Access and Go Wake Access ADA shared maintenance facility. Hopefully everybody's seen our Pull Road operations and maintenance facility where all of our buses currently are. We're right there, just on the other side, just east of 440 on Pool Road, on the south side there. Very nice facility. We want to replicate that, something similar, not probably that large for paratransit, but we certainly need a new facility. We're using a facility that's well beyond its useful life, and quite honestly, I feel bad for the passengers some days because, or not the passengers, but our employees some days, because I know that they deserve a better experience when they come into work every day. Shelters for new and existing bus stops. We have about $500,000 budgeted at a minimum for FY20. But working with our capital area metropolitan planning organization, we've identified a grant for $2 million additional dollars to put towards additional bus shelters in our rights of way throughout the city. And I'll show a map at the end of this presentation. It doesn't get down to a detail that you may want tonight, but certainly I'll have some cards here, and if you have any questions, I can answer those later in detail. Going on a little bit further, East Raleigh Transit Center, I talked about that earlier. This particular transit center is going to be something that we really haven't experienced. You've had a close experience to it at Crabtree, where we have a 6-bay transit facility which serves multiple routes. We have that within an easement at Crabtree Valley Mall. This particular East Raleigh Transit Center, again, will have potentially restrooms for our operators as well as customers. It will have a ticket booth. It will have real-time passenger information. It will be a covered facility. So again, a 4 to 6 bay facility there. This is also the terminus for our future bus rapid transit corridor, which we're projected to be on New Bern Avenue, and I'll talk about that a little bit more too if Mr. Weeks doesn't kick me out. It looks like I've got time, Mr. Weeks. And next one is we're looking at Midtown, how we can serve that area. Is Midtown will also be a location where we have many routes by intersecting at that location. So we're looking for opportunities to do an enhanced transit center there now. We do have bus shelters there, but not the greatest experience, not a lot of room, and certainly not a lot of room for growth. Buses. So some of kind of our forward-facing element to the community are the vehicles that we utilize. And as we look forward, we're switching most of our fleet over to compressed natural gas. The city's investing in an anaerobic digestion system, which just means that the wastewater treatment facility will actually create natural gas. And so in the future, we plan to use that natural gas in our buses so that we have that continuous cycle. And it's actually one of the cleanest things if you think about the life cycle of energy that we can do. So we would, in the future, take that and burn it in our CNG buses. But we're also looking to the future. We know that electric is the future. I'm sure that everybody knows someone that has either leased an electric car or bought an electric car or done something in the electric market in some way. And things are just getting into an electric mode, quite honestly. And we don't want to sit on the sidelines. We're not going to jump in full, head first, but we at least want to make sure that we're being very responsible, and if we buy an electric bus, that it performs well for our passengers. All new technology, to me, is a little bit scary because with an operations background, I always want to default to the safe, the safe tested technology where I don't have to worry about it. And so this is kind of a new technology for us, but we'll be deploying a few electric buses next year, so look for that. We'll be really excited to get those on the road and see how they perform with the remainder of our fleet. So also one of the big elements that we talked about within the 4 big moves of the Wake County Transit Plan was that frequent, reliable network. And how you build reliability is really changing how you think about transit and how it operates within a right-of-way. So the Wake County Transit Plan defined 4 bus rapid transit corridors. Starting to the north on this map, we have Capitol Boulevard as far as about Crabtree Creek. It's not very far to the north yet. but it would serve as a major funnel for all of our northern routes that come into the city of Raleigh. As you progress to the east, we have New Bern Avenue with dedicated bus lane infrastructure. So when I talk about bus rapid transit, let me back up a moment. Our buses currently ride in lanes with other traffic. Bus rapid transit sets a lane aside just for buses. That doesn't mean that that happens throughout the entire corridor, but what that means is that it certainly happens in areas where you may have more congestion or you have delays. So that's where reliability comes in. Because the most important things about transit are, in my, I think it's pretty much proven, is reliability and frequency. And I would throw in customer experience in there as well. But certainly, frequency and reliability, even more so than time. Certainly that time is very important. If you can start getting somewhere as quick as you can by any other mode, then you're going to choose transit. So again, to the east, we have the bus rapid transit corridor as far as Wake Med, with actual service continuing on as far as New Hope to that new community transit center that I talked about. To the south, we have South Saunders or South Wilmington Street, as far as the Walmart, generally around the Walmart area in Garner. We haven't defined exactly what corridor yet will carry the bus rapid transit, but we'll be working on that late this summer into to the fall, and we'll hopefully have those answers, well before 2020, calendar year 2020, that is. And then to the west, let me back up again. So again, that's multi-jurisdictional downtown into the town of Garner. So we'll be working with our partners as we progress through that. The western route on Western Boulevard from downtown Raleigh to downtown Cary. The town of Cary is building a new multimodal center downtown as well. I would assume it would be somewhere near the existing train depot. It's pretty logical is that you want to make sure that you are making those connections with Amtrak and other modes on rail. But that's the longest corridor, again, working with our partners in Cary to implement that particular project. So technology, one of the premier technology things that we'll be going forward with in FY20 is a mobile app technology. Everybody knows that you use your phone, or many people use their phone for just about everything today. And currently you can't buy a bus pass or pay a bus fare on your phone, and we're going to change that. It doesn't mean that you still can't use a quarter. It doesn't mean you can't use $1. It doesn't mean that you can't use our contactless smart cards. You can still do that. You can still get a weekly bus pass like you do now. This will just be an additional opportunity to pay for fares. And it will also allow us to do what we call fare capping. We find that many individuals pay in our system, it seems like, on a daily basis. And when you buy a weekly fare or a monthly fare, they actually end up paying about 30% more than somebody that can afford that monthly pass. Well, under this scenario, under this app, if they pay that daily fare and they reach that monthly fare early, they get the rest of their 30 days free, because they've already paid the equal amount of what a monthly pass would cost. So what that does is that equalizes that playing field. Maybe somebody can't lay out the funds for a 30-day pass in one day. So it really doesn't matter if you do it by weekly pass or by daily pass. Once you hit that weekly mark, you get the rest of that week for free, or once you hit that 30-day mark or that monthly pass, you get the rest of that month for free. So again, it's trying to make sure that there is equality within our fare structure for everyone, no matter how you pay. As long as you pay within a 30-day period, everybody pays the same. So recent service implementation, certainly Southeast Raleigh, we had a number of new services. One of the premier routes was Route 19, which serves Martin Luther King Boulevard as well as Sunnybrook Road, as far as Wake Med, and we've seen about a 60 to 70% increase in ridership on that route since it went to a high frequency route. It runs every 15 minutes, and it runs straight. It doesn't deviate. It just goes straight MLK to Sunnybrook, turns left, and hits the end of the line and then comes back, but runs every 15 minutes. So that has been a big success for us with some of our changes in Southeast Raleigh. We also extended service. If you see these two large legs here, this is, I'm terrible.
You have a pointer.
I
You have
do.
a pointer. Is it the
It's a high-tech.
top button? Is it the top one?
Oh, you're great. You were great. I'm sorry. So this is Pool Road, that's Rock Quarry Road, and that's Barwell Road. That is all new service for us. That is completely new service area. And as you can imagine, that area currently isn't exactly the best environment for transit. But we had so many. This is our #1 area of request for transit over the last decade. So we felt compelled to at least get some basic service out there as quickly as we could. Now, is all the infrastructure out there to support this? Not yet. But we're working on it, and that's what I want to make sure that everyone's aware of tonight.
Could you show us that route again, the pool?
Yes, so, I'm sorry, the new service area?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So, all of this, that's Pool Road, and then Barwell Road, and this is Rock Quarry Road. And pretty much everything from the high school on Rock Quarry Road all the way down to the shopping center. I've gone blank, y'all. That Battle Bridge Shopping Center is brand new service area. Certainly all of Barwell Road is a brand new service area, and then from Barwell Road on Pool Road all the way back to New Hope Road is brand new service area. So just a large amount of service area. Also think about this, I haven't mentioned it and I don't have a slide for it, and my apologies, but we also have something that's called Go Raleigh Access. And so that's for persons with disabilities or seniors that can't board a regular fixed route transit bus. We do provide a complimentary service. It's $250 per trip, but if you're in our service area, anywhere within that service area, you can travel for $250. So you can travel from downtown Raleigh to Triangle Town Center for $250. You can travel from Triangle Town Center to the Walmart and Garner for $250. But that is a service that follows our regular fixed route transit service, and that's a federal law. That's under Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, and that's available to any transit system that is federally funded in the United States. That is a requirement that that service is provided. So if anyone has any questions about that as well, again, I'm going to have some extra cards on the table. Please grab those tonight. Send me an email if anybody has any questions. So going on to our existing facilities and our planned facilities. My planned facilities kind of washed out, unfortunately, but the red facilities here are all of our existing bus stops with shelters. All of the ones that you see that are showing up a bit yellow, especially on Pool Road, Barwell Road, and Rock Quarry, are ones that are currently in some form of design and are planned. We have a good 70, at least 70 units right now in design to get in the right of way. You would think that a bus shelter with a pad is something that I could probably knock out on a weekend, but when we purchased the 23 acres for our facility, maintenance and operations facility on Pool Road, I think it was easier than some of the bus stops that we have to install. Because when we go to a property owner and say, I want to buy a 2-foot by 16-foot strip of your property, they're like, they really are not interested, because it's a lot more paperwork, unfortunately, than it is worth their time. So it does take us a while to work through that process and work with NCDOT on encroachments. And but my point is when you go to someone and say, I'd like to buy 23 acres, they're pretty happy to see you. So, but anyway, those small strips of land can be really more difficult to acquire than one might think. Again, I'm not going to go into detail on these exact locations. Each one of these, though, we have plotted. We can tell you the exact spot where it will go. Most of them have already all been surveyed. So if there's any questions regarding any of these stops, please let us know, and we can provide detailed information. This is actually an interactive map, and we hope to have this online this calendar year, before calendar year 2020, where you can click on each individual box and it will show you hopefully a picture of the existing shelter, and then where the ones are planned, you can click on that box and it'll show you a street view of where the shelters will go. So this is interactive. This is through our GIS department with the City of Raleigh. So hopefully that will be available for the general public to utilize in the near future. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Would be in trouble if I didn't mention, though, we are having a couple of major meetings. One we already had last Thursday, June 6th, equitable development around transit. Really thinking about land use and equity and economic development around transit and what are the community's desires for that type of interaction. As we think about the number of people that are going to be moving to Raleigh and to Wake County in the future, a certain amount of that growth makes sense, probably makes sense, hopefully, depends on what the community says, but would probably make sense to go somewhere in some of those corridors, but that has to come with policy changes. So what's the right level of policy change to work with, and how do we do that? So that's what that meeting was a kickoff for. There'll be additional meetings throughout the community in regards to that subject about, again, density, equitable development, which includes affordable housing, things of that nature. So how do we incorporate all of that around station areas in a successful way that everyone can enjoy this transit network? That's what we want to do. We want to build a transit network for everyone. Next meeting, the actual development of the bus rapid transit corridor on New Bern Avenue is June 26th, and that is at Martin Street Baptist Church. That will happen between 4 and 7 p.m. We'll be providing a brief presentation at the top of each hour at 4, 5, and 6. And then the rest of the time we'll have stations set up. While we're calling this more of a design alternatives meeting, we'll have everything available from our planning department, our economic development department. We'll have our bus planners there to talk about bus routes and bus stops. So it's still going to be a very broad meeting discussing all of those topics. But each one of our meetings as we move forward will have kind of a main topic with all of those other elements available at the meeting. With that, I will hold my word this time and take questions.
Would you mind putting giving your website again? So a whole lot of stuff you have, you can go right on the website.
Yes, sir.
Do you have that on your card?
I do.
Okay, well, if you got those, okay, then let's give it.
I'll write it down. Well, real quick, if you just want a general transit, RaleighNC.gov, just like everything with the city of Raleigh, and you can go /transit, or you can go /BRT, and it'll take you, if you hit the BRT, it'll just take you straight to our bus rapid transit website, and those meetings are on that website, some of our plans, some of our things we have going on. But under both scenarios, we have things available. So
I'll put the rest of them up here.
Yes, sir. I thank you for the opportunity. Yes, ma'am.
So if you wanted the bus to come down a certain route, how would you petition the city for that? How would that work?
You could certainly address the Raleigh Transit Authority. We have a 9-member Raleigh Transit Authority where everything kind of starts. So we have a route committee, but generally we get requests for service through staff. We'll take that to the Transit Authority. Sometimes a citizen will go and support the request, or sometimes a citizen will request that staff just bring it forward for consideration. It's really up to the citizen on how they would like to proceed with that. We'll be happy at a staff level to at least bring the request forward. I can't say that sometimes it's not nice to have a citizen support saying that this is what we like or what we want to see. But certainly we'll do that for them if they like. But either way. Our Transit Authority meets at 3:30 p.m. on the third Thursday of every month. And then we have 3 standing committees monthly as well. We have a route committee, a marketing committee, and a finance and policy committee. And they all, so we meet monthly with the 3 committees and the full board on the third Thursday.
Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And we'll have to follow. And for your information, we do have a representative from the Wake County Voter Coalition on that board. And we meet on the 3rd Monday of each month for our Voter Coalition meeting. But I can give you his number and thing, and you can contact him because he attends those meetings and give us a report.
Thank you again, and I'm sure we'll be back with some more information soon.
I'm sure you will be.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. All right. Okay, very good information. We've been
Ira.
working for those shelters for a long time. And I used to just walk up to Dave's office. I would be a sheriff in their office. He run from it, but appreciate everything you're doing for that. Okay,
Okay.
please, let me make another announcement. We do have a couple items to vote on tonight. Please don't leave. We do need you here to vote on some of these zoning cases here. Who we have coming up now?
So I went in the order that they were on the agenda.
Ira.
Oh, this is ours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
He's just giving us.
Yes, so
we're not voting on this. It's just
That's right.
information.
Yes, Yazmin.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
My name is Ira Mabel. I'm with the Department of City Planning. We usually come to talk about the rezonings. So we do have a couple of these. I'm going to be brief. I do like to start from the beginning about why we're here, just in case it's your first meeting. So my department, or my division of the planning department, helps to manage the zoning code for the city. I'll stand your way. Which is the law that regulates land use in the entire city. So every piece of property is controlled in some way by the zoning code, and it controls things like what you can do, so residential, commercial, how big your lot can be, what your building can look like, how tall, how close to the street, that type of thing. And when someone comes to request a change to the rules on their property, that's called a rezoning, and that's what we're here. There's 2 or 3 maybe of those on your agenda. So there's two parts to the code: the map, which actually applies the rules to a particular piece of property, and then the big book, the text of the code, which has all the numbers and describes what you can and can't do. That's the very quick version, so I can keep us moving. There's also the ability, when you come to request a rezoning, you can volunteer extra rules, we call them conditions, that apply just to your property. And I do like to pause here to make sure you spend some time, because this becomes part of the law. So if this gets adopted by City Council, whatever the conditions are, which are just words on a page, become part of the law and are what the city enforces. So people come and tell you what they're going to do and show you pictures and, tell you their story, and that's all great and probably true. But this is what's in writing. So both of these cases have conditions that we're going to talk about tonight. So, to the actual request, number 1 is Z-12-19. So this is the 12th case filed in 2019. That's how you follow along. This is on Sunnybrook Road, which is a little hard to see, but is this line here. It's a little over 4 acres. Currently zoned R6, which stands for residential 6, so 6 units per acre. So theoretically, 6 times 4 is about 20, is what you can fit there now. This SHOD is a special highway overlay district, which is another layer of zoning on top of the base layer. So it's just because it's close to 40. We have some special rules about trees and how development has to treat the highway. So that's not changing. And the request is for a district called Neighborhood Mixed Use, or NX. And the 3 here stands for 3 stories. So this allows quite a bit of commercial development under most circumstances. Not everything in this case we'll get to, but so there's the picture. This is the interval line. There's 40. This is Sunnybrook here, and this is Sunnybrook Estates, I think is what it's called, something like that. So a bit of a closer in view of the property we're talking about. So there's currently 1 house there now, and a lot of trees. And I have some views of the street, if that helps you, what we're talking about. So I will say I've been working with Ms. Fozard, who's the property owner, to help get these conditions squared away in a place that the city and she are happy about. So they're not quite final, but they're really close. So I'm going to assume that we're going to get all the way there in the very, very near future and explain it later. So right now, she's proposing to limit the height to 2 stories. There's a number of things that you can do in that NX district that she's saying you can't, she won't do. Some other extra restrictions on some things that are permitted, indoor recreation, restaurants, retail, that you can do. So adding some more rules to that. She's committing to half the site to remain as open space. The city requires some tree preservation, at least 10% of the, so 4 acres would be not quite half an acre that she would be required to dedicate to trees. She's promising half. Wants to include some rain gardens or rain barrels, and to not extend, so this is Diamond Spring Drive's here. So this condition has a lot more words than on this slide, but it says if you're not subdividing this property, then she won't be extending that road, just which she would have to otherwise. So that's it. She has attended. We can ask specific questions of her plans directly to her, and I will stay to answer questions. But this is the process for all the rezonings. So she's already done a meeting. Some of y'all might have gotten a letter if you live close by. And she's met with staff. That's the pre-application conference. We're here at the CAC and the staff review. He still has to go in front of Planning Commission at least one time. That's a public meeting. Those are on the Tuesday in City Hall. And then it does go before council, also at least one time. Those are public meetings, usually in the evening on Tuesdays. So each one of these points with the stars are places for public input. And it's ultimately City Council decides. So you all vote. I report that to Planning Commission. They take that into account. They don't decide. They also vote and make their recommendation to council, and council considers everybody's opinion on the case. And that's who gets to change the law. I think that's it. So yeah. Yes, sir.
On your, you're going to you're asking for R6 on this property, am I correct?
It is currently R6.
It is
asking
currently
for
R6,
NX,
but you asked for NX.
NX3, yes.
Okay. And on the notification to the people surrounding this property, have they already been notified about this?
Yes, they've notified, and we had a meeting in March.
Yeah,
It was March 15th.
March 15th.
Yes.
And they gave you their concerns at that time?
They gave me their concerns and their wishes.
Okay.
And their concerns was they did not want Diamond, this is Diamond Spring Drive. They did not want to cut through the Sunnybrook Road. That was one of the main things that they did not want. And pretty much they wanted to stay a wooded site.
Stay within the site.
Well,
okay. Have you been back to them after they gave you their concerns? Were you able to go back to them with any answers that you didn't have that night when you met with them?
well, no, I don't.
She's not. So she's required to have a meeting. To mail a letter to everyone who has info. Right. And so before Planning Commission, we send those same people another letter.
You send them, okay.
And then before City Council, we send them a third letter.
Okay.
So they don't. She doesn't host a meeting, but they do get notified 2 more times as we move to the milestones.
Okay.
I was only required to provide that stamp.
She gives us the envelopes and we send it. When we're ready for Planning Commission, we send that out.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Yazmin Fozard, and I'm the owner of this property. And one of the reasons that I wanted to get it rezoned was for the last 6 years, I've been having a camp called Environment Kids Summer Camp. And I've been before you telling you about my camp. And we're environmental education camp, and we work with at-risk youth between the age of 13 and 18 years. So last summer they wanted to close the camp down because R6 is is not zoned for having a summer camp. You can actually have a school, but you cannot have a summer camp. So 2 weeks before our camp was to end, our camp is an 8-week-long camp, and it's free. We have a grant from the North Carolina Forest Service, the USDA. We have a grant from, we had Syndicate Camp, and we work with organizations that support us to have our camp. So 2 weeks before the camp was to end, they were going to close it down. So I petitioned them to at least let us complete our camp for 2018, and that I would work on getting the rezoning, and in order for us to continue to have the camp. So part of what we do, and by the way, our camp starts next Monday, so I still have applications in case you might know someone that would like to come to the camp. But so what we do is we're environmental camp, and we do environmental education. So this is the wooded area right here that we study as part of our camp. And we do, we help the youth look at urban forestry and traditional forestry. So we actually get funded through the North Carolina Forest Service to teach in this area, in this wooded area. So we have an arboretum trail, and this is the trail right here that the kids study the trees and make recommendations. So we have a trail that we developed, and they learn a lot about the environment. But the camp is not just limited to this site. I'll say 85% of our education takes place in the Research Triangle Park. We go to North Carolina State University, we do water testing at Jordan Lake, we go to Bear, and they have a bee tour. We just look at all of the different environmental educational elements that's within the Triangle area, and we meet here, we do a little studying here, and then we go out into our community. So we actually wanted to preserve this property so that it could not be developed at all. But we came up with some other ideas of how to remain as natural as possible, preserve the trees, make sure we can do the our camp, and also look at this Diamond Spring Drive to see if we could possibly use the trail as the connection. And there was some, so we would connect to the community. The community could come here at an entrance on the back and actually use the forest. And in actuality, all of the people around this area use the forest anyway. In fact, somebody even have a tree house built somewhere in here. So we don't think we're just caretakers of the earth. We're not like, oh, this belongs to us and you can't use it, because nature is nature. So we want to start out by extending this one house and put some extension. Everything in dash is proposed. Everything that's solid in this red color exists. Right now we have the house and we have the barn, which we use. And we would like to extend our commitment to the arts. So we want to create, we have started this thing called the Starving Artists Gallery and Cafe. So we wanted to extend to local artists that don't have art space or don't have galleries to show. And then we would support them in showing here and giving them studio space. So we are actually a 501c3 nonprofit called OURS, the Institute of Landscape Art and Sustainable Spaces. That is what our organization is, and this is the property that we do our work on.
Thank you. Any questions? Right now, we will have, probably, you'll be coming back again, I'm sure.
2224 Sunnybrook.
Sunnybrook, yes.
We are about a block from Rock Quarry, the intersection of Rock Quarry. We're the back of the Walnut Creek Amphitheater we're right there.
Website?
We have a website called ILASS, ILASS landscape.com.
Once more.
ILASS landscape.com.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
See you in July, probably. I do. I'm
Oh,
going to
so
do the
if you
next
have the
couple too.
applications,
I have them up here.
okay. Just so you know,
And
the
we'll give them to
deadline
Pam.
is Friday.
It is Friday?
Yes.
Okay. They have it in there.
I got them all.
Oh, okay. Do you have another one right now?
Yep, the next one on the agenda.
Oh, no.
That's
Okay.
me. Only me.
Oh.
Don was doing
Yep. So we try not to overstaff.
Okay. All right, we're going to go, oh, Vicky, the card.
I will.
We're going to go into our second part in this. You had a vote on it last month, and I think you voted down on it last month. And then went back to the planning commission and came back with some more conditions and different things. And they're going to go over this, and then we'll have another vote up or down on the presentation.
Yep. This is not my case, but I'm going to talk to you about it. I did do my homework. So like Mr. Weeks said, this is probably the third time at least you've seen this. This is Rock Quarry Road, this line here, and cross-link this way. 1.5 acres, also currently a residential use, the R district, asking for a very similar NX, so commercial mixed use. This PL is a frontage, so that the building has to be so close to the street, is another extra layer. A little hard to see with this projector, but there's a closer one. So there's quite a bit of commercial already. There's a large shopping center with a library. This is all, I forget the name of this now. Yes, thank you. Housing development on the east side. And then, so when we talk about Edwin Drive, that's this road, it dead ends around here. And then Rock Quarry is the main road. So currently, I'm not sure if there's still a building there. There was.
No, it's not. No.
So this is what you voted on last time. There were 3 of those conditions. Something height, prohibiting multifamily residential, and then a long list of uses that would not be allowed. So y'all didn't like that in May. These are the new things that you haven't seen. So a little bit more definition of the transition to the south, and I have a slide after this about that. No impervious surface, so no paving on the backside of the property, so closer to that Edwin Drive, I pointed out. Lighting full cutoff, that means it doesn't shine outward, it just points at the ground. And no garbage at the south, so where there's, to the north there's the dollar store, and the south there is some homes, some single family homes. This is the transition yard. Whenever a mixed use district, so something that ends in X, is next to a residential district, the city requires this. The developer has a choice. They can pick one of these 3 things. So this condition here says they'll be either type 1 or type 2, so they've just eliminated the 3rd thing. So they have to build either a wall, which is this top one, or a fence, which is this middle one. And then plant trees and shrubs. So that would apply on this boundary here, bordering the residential properties. This case is inconsistent with the map, so we look at, when staff is evaluating a case, we always compare it to a future land use map to say, which helps us determine what should be there in the future. Right now the map is residential, so it doesn't think about commercial. There is this long list of uses that you can't go there, probably don't notice, but doesn't include restaurants, so some other commercial things are still allowed, which is not what the map thinks of low-density residential. So this would require, if the case were approved, it would require a change to that map to match what the zoning would be. Kind of a fun technical point, if anyone's interested, but thought I'd bring that up. So this case planner is Mr. Belk. He's been here multiple times, I think, to speak about this.
Yes.
I'm going to go back to here just to leave it on that. Should you have any questions about what's new compared to last time? And other than that, if there's no questions for me, then I think the applicant's here. Yes, ma'am.
When they were here the last time, they indicated that they were taking it to the planning commission the next day.
Yep.
What was the result? What was the outcome?
They said they requested a delay to come back to CAC. So it is the same story. They're at the planning commission tomorrow. It's, you know, the hazard of CACs that meet on a Monday, the planning commission always meets on Tuesday sometimes.
The biggest concern, I think, for all the people who were here last time was the access because of the density of travel and transportation and onto Rock Quarry Road. Has that changed? Has it planned for that change?
The short answer is no. No. None of these new things would have any impact on that concern.
Okay, you also had some conditions from about the last time, and I think we already talked about it. You showed the enhance of the area for suggested for your service areas. You talked about the lighting, and you talked about the loading area and the trash receptacle. Okay, so now you had then you have a couple additional conditions from the planning commission. And did they give any additional?
No, the planning commission didn't give any or even suggest any.
But the big problem we had, we talked about the stormwater runoff too, and you talked about the purpose.
Yeah,
condition.
sure.
Yeah.
So my name is Neil Ghosh. I'm an attorney with the Morningstar Law Group. This is our third time in front of this CAC on this case. I will say the first time it was raining pretty hard. In fact, the power went out when I was presenting. And there weren't that many people here. So the second time, which was last month, there were quite a few more people here than the first time, and we appreciated all the feedback we got. Unfortunately, the vote that night didn't go the way we would like it to go, and we were meeting with the Planning Commission the next day. And as was mentioned, that's also the case this time, because Planning Commission meets on Tuesday, so we'll be at Planning Commission again tomorrow. At the Planning Commission, we requested, after hearing your feedback, we requested more time to look into some of those issues that you all raised and that were raised in the staff report and that the Planning Commission had. And today we wanted to come back to present to you all our new conditions that we've added and some information that we have found since then. I will say that the Planning Commission did request that after looking into these and adding conditions that we meet with you all and that you all take a vote on this. At the end of the presentation today, I would ask for another vote on this. I'm sure you all are familiar with the property by now, but the highlighted portion, that's generally the parcel we're looking at. You're all obviously very familiar with the area, but just in case, you've got the Food Line Shopping Center there. You've also got the 2 gas stations. And then adjacent to the property, you've got both Family Dollar and Macedonia New Life Church. The primary reason for this rezoning, we're trying to take that existing Little Caesars and move it there. This is the current zoning map, and so we have to rezone in order to achieve what we're trying to accomplish. The hue is a little off, but all of the yellow colors, whether it's dark or light, all of that is residential. And then if it's not yellow, It's going to be a mixed-use district, and in this area, those have been used for non-residential uses. So you've got, this red color here is the shopping center. The Family Dollar there is pink. And in fact, we are requesting the same zoning district as the Family Dollar. It's the same exact base district in X, which is neighborhood mixed use, 3 PLCU. We'll say the map is a little misleading. Well, it's not misleading. This is actually the map. But the church is in a residential district, but obviously it's not a residential use. It's more of an institutional use. So you get a concentration of non-residential uses right at this intersection, and we're expanding that concentration. So last time we came, we had these 3 conditions already as part of the case. One of them was to limit that building height to no more than 35 feet, which is pretty typical of a residential structure. We also were eliminating residential uses, townhomes and apartments. That's primarily to let you know that what we are trying to accomplish here is, in fact, a non-residential use. And then there are a number of items that were prohibited, things like your bed and breakfast, bars, nightclubs, tavern, gas station, dealerships, those type of things, mechanics, all of that would be prohibited on this site. Since then, we've added 4 new conditions. I'll go through them quickly on this slide and in a little more detail on the next slide. The first condition we added was that we would have a type 1 or type 2 buffer along the property's southern property line. The next condition was that the rear 75 feet of the property would remain with no new impervious. All outdoor area lighting will be a full cutoff design, and I'll talk more about that. And we also added a condition related to the location of the dumpster. So this is the property. All of the properties south of us are zoned residential. They also all are owned by the same person, and we've talked to that gentleman. My understanding is that he is supportive of the rezoning. Nevertheless, we recognize that non-residential use oftentimes can be incompatible with the residential uses that already exist there. So we've added a condition that we will have a type 1 or type 2 buffer along that property line. Basically what that means is there will be a buffer there that's either 10 to 20 feet in width. It's going to be heavily landscaped, and it will have a wall or fence which is 6 feet to 9 feet tall. And that's how we want to help create that separation between these 2 uses, so long as those properties to the south of us are zoned residential. I think that's important. One of the other conditions we added was that there will be no new impervious in this rear section of the property. Now, I want to be careful to tell you that there could be some grading that happens in there or some clearing. It just depends on how the site will need to develop. But what you won't see there are like parking lots. There won't be any building. There won't be any new road or driveway. It's essentially going to be a green area, a green space after the development is complete, but it may need to be disturbed while we're doing the construction of the rest of the site. One of the other conditions I talked about was the full cutoff lighting. So there's a little diagram on there. The light fixture on the left of the diagram with the X under it, that is not a full cutoff fixture. And you can tell because when you're looking at it, you can kind of see the bulb. A lot of developers like to use this type of lighting because you get a wider spread on your light, and so you can use less of them to light up your parking lot. But there's a problem with these types of lights. Primarily, they create light pollution. And you kind of get that in 2 ways. You get that spillover effect where your adjacent properties are being somewhat lit up. So when you have a residential district right next to you, you want to avoid that. The other thing is, and you guys probably all have experienced this at night, when you don't have the bulb itself shrouded, you can see the light bulb. And so when you're driving, you get that kind of halo effect or that glow. That happens at night when you don't have full cutoff lighting. The fixture on the right of this with the check mark under it, you can see the bulb is completely shrouded. What that does is channelize your light down. So you need more of them to light your parking lot, but the good news is the only thing it's lighting is your property. And you don't get that same effect when you're driving down the road at night with full cutoff design. So we think, to be a good neighbor and, just generally good design, it makes sense to use this type of lighting in our outdoor areas. Of course, the indoor lighting will be indoor. Then we also added a condition about the placement of the dumpster. So generally speaking, the dumpster is going to be north of that line there. So we want to get it away, at least 50 feet away from that residential district. Now, ideally, we would like to have that dumpster closer to the Family Dollar side, but right now, we don't actually know if we're going to be able to accomplish that for two reasons. One of them, primarily, we haven't done the site plan yet, so it's not fully engineered site, so we just don't know. But one of the other issues why we don't know exactly where that dumpster is going to go touches on something that you all brought up last time, which is access. So we talked to NCDOT to get some more information on the access question, and we asked them kind of what they would allow, and two, what they will require, which obviously those are two different things, right? And one thing that they made clear to us was that, the site, I think last time someone suggested or asked whether the site could be accessed from the cross access to Family Dollar. And so one thing NCDOT made clear to us is that the only point of access for this site cannot be the cross access to Family Dollar. It's not that they wouldn't allow cross access or they would prohibit it in any way, but the site has to have at least one point of access. Now, what they don't know yet, and what they're still looking into, is what they will require or allow for our points of access onto Rock Quarry. So if you've all been by the site, you probably know there's already 2 existing curb cuts roughly in these locations. If they only allow us to have one of these, it'll be the southern one, basically to create the separation between where the existing Family Dollar driveway is. So if they only give us one, it would be this one. Now, they made us aware of a number of different factors that they look at when they're evaluating a site for access. And one of the big factors in this case would be the future plans, the Raleigh Street plan for this area. So Rock Quarry Road is slated to be a 4-lane divided major thoroughfare. And right now, what you guys have is, I call that center lane a suicide lane. It's kind of you can get in to get on either side. So over time, the plan is to get rid of that lane and convert it into a median. And that way, pretty much all of your access on either side of Rock Quarry is going to be right in, right out only. The reason that affects your access points has to do with the ability for large emergency vehicles essentially to circulate your site. Generally, they want to design a site so that a fire truck, which is generally the biggest piece of equipment they have, can get in the site and does not have to back up or turn around to get out of the site. And depending on how wide the site is, and this site isn't very wide, but it might be beneficial to have 2 points of access. So it's possible that they would actually require us to have 2 points of access. So they're looking into that, and unfortunately I don't have the answer for you on that today. But it's something that we're actively looking into. We heard you, and we're not ignoring it. We just couldn't get more information than that right now. And I'm not sure that they are going to weigh in on that, probably until site plan, when they really have to take a look at it. But I want to talk about a couple other things by the numbers. So we looked up some of the traffic data in this area because I know that was a big concern for you all. So Rock Quarry Road, the latest numbers that are available, which I will admit are from 2017, but they show 21,000 trips a day on this section of Rock Quarry Road, I should say. And that's all day. So if you go to work on Rock Quarry and come back, that's 2 trips, right? Mm-hmm. So, it doesn't work out this way, but the way I like to think of it, you cut that in half. That's how many cars. Oh yeah, absolutely. And so you've got about 11,000 trips with Crosslink Road per day, and Proctor is about 4,000 trips a day. So I think what these numbers tell us is that you guys are exactly right. There is traffic in this area. And that's obviously one of the reasons why they are planning to convert this to a median divided facility, because I know one of the harder movements for you guys, one of the ones that creates safety problems and backups, is when someone is, for example, trying to turn south onto Rock Quarry from the east side of Rock Quarry. And that can create a problem. Obviously, when that median is added in, you'll no longer be able to make that movement, and everything will be right in, right out. Some of the other numbers I want to talk about very quickly. So the approximate store size, and on this site, what we're planning for is a site that's about 2,200 square feet, which is not very large for kind of standalone restaurant. I'm not sure what happened. There we go. They have very limited seating at these stores. About 20 seats are planned, if they can fit that, so probably less. Generally, people come to the site and pick up their pizza and leave. And they fulfill most of their orders. That means more, a little more than 50% of their orders. And the hours between 5 and 8, obviously they're not open in the morning, so people aren't getting pizza in the morning, so that doesn't add to your AM traffic. But in the evening, that's when they're experiencing it. But probably the most surprising to me was that a typical Little Caesar site is fulfilling 250 orders a day, which isn't that many. And I was surprised to hear that. But I wanted to point that out to say, you know, I recognize you guys have a traffic problem, but I don't think Little Caesars is the one that's really causing or exacerbating that traffic problem, although I appreciate the concern. It's definitely a real one, and when we design the site, we'll be looking at how best to interact with the traffic that's there. So with that, I'll take any questions, and again, I would request that we get a vote. That is what the Planning Commission asked us to do.
I have a couple of comments and questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, first of all, at the May 14th meeting, they did talk about, the citizen talked about the traffic and the pedestrian safety. And let me just let you know, when you talk about what they're going to do on Rockwell Road, we're talking about 5 years down the road or more. You're not talking about right away for the doing the Rockwell Road. Putting that in down by Baldwell and going on out, that would be the first part that's done. And I looked at something here, and I wanted to make sure I got this right, because it was also stated when you talked about when you were at the meeting. I think the commission had a thing about the concern about the. I still have to go back to the stormwater. Even when you build, you got a slope in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're putting a buffer up, and that's after you take care of your building and thing. What are you going to do to stop the stormwater running off from the back down into that neighborhood? You stated in here, yes, some people did not come to your meeting, but people that live in the neighborhood, we know about runoff and we know about stormwater runoff. But you did not, and I think the commissioner had, the planning commission, they had a question, and they even done, Belk had the same question. We're still concerned about that runoff that you're going to have. You talk about the perfect conditions and things, but if you build it up and you coming down and you still have those neighborhoods behind, they might not know about all of the conditions as far as stormwater, like we know being on another part of the area in southeast Raleigh.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and so again, and I think you mentioned it just now. One of the conditions here is that there be no new impervious in this back area here. Now, I was just careful to say that it won't be. It's not the case that it won't be undisturbed. So there's possible grading or clearing that would happen here. But the whole point of that would be to protect the site from that runoff. This is the sloped area of the site.
Right.
Slopes off this way, and that is exactly what we're trying to do, is protect that. And one of the ways we do that is by not adding any new impervious in here. And during construction, there will be an erosion control plan that will be approved. That will be the first thing implemented. So before we do any work on there, we'll get a erosion control plan approved. Generally speaking, there's going to be some erosion fencing around the perimeter of this site and protecting any steep slopes in this area, so that sediment doesn't get washed out onto Eatman Drive. Primarily is where it would happen.
All right, do y'all have any questions before we go for a vote on this zoning case, and be able to get Pam to conduct the voting part for us on this? This is the second time you're here for a vote on this zoning case, and it's up to the citizens what you want to do. You heard, yes, sir.
Just as a matter of note, that the site plan is going to require some stormwater control.
Yes.
So that it's not gonna be not addressed.
Yeah, but we just wanted to make sure that the state in here, yeah, they are going to, yes, you're right, I agree with you on that. But some of the people that were not at the meeting did not know about the concerns we had about that, as far as okay. Appreciate you bringing that up, okay? All right, Pam, I'll turn it over to you to do a vote, up and down for this, see the way you want to go with it.
Okay, all right,
And you'll do it by hand.
The city staff, you mind helping me with
Sure,
the count?
yeah, of course.
Okay, all right, so for those who are in favor of this project, please raise your hand. Now, once you raise it, please keep it up so that both Ira and I can get a count. So if you approve of this project, please raise your hand. And you do live in the South CAC.
You gotta live in the South CAC.
Okay, if you are not in agreement with this project, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you.
So your numbers were 10 against and.
Yes, and if you abstain,
Yeah.
if you wish to abstain from voting altogether, please raise your hand. Eight? Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you for your vote on that. Appreciate y'all coming out and giving a presentation. Okay, thank you very much. All right.
Yes. Sorry?
Next time. No, you didn't ask for a vote for the night on that.
I'll have to ask.
We have to advertise.
Yeah. I have to advertise it a month in advance. Yes.
Two times. I don't have any slides for this next one, so.
Okay.
For the next one.
All right, Beth.
They have posters and things.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, on this one that we're coming up on now, don't forget this is the third time for their presentation. And don't forget this is a two-part thing. We're voting only on the retail part. But tonight, we only voted on the retail part of this.
We don't have a. Okay, no problem.
We have old-fashioned boards.
All right.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Beth Trahos. I'm an attorney with Nelson Mullins, and I'm representing the Halley Companies. And I have with me Eric Rifkin with the Halley Companies, and also Chuck Walker. And Chuck is representing the retail owners in Old Town. And maybe, I think we can start with just that overview map to explain the two groups, and then I'll let you take it away, Chuck. I think most of y'all have been here and have seen us talk about the Old Town property. Thank you, Eric. You will remember that it is at the intersection of Rock Quarry and New Hope Road. Altogether, it's about 605 acres that is planned for a mixed-use community that includes a number of homes and a commercial component as well. So the Halley Companies owns the residential portion, which is a little more than 500 acres. It's this large bit here, and Mr. Walker and his clients have the commercial portion, which is these three interior lots and the lot on the other side of New Hope Road. So I think the retail is the primary focus tonight. That's Mr. Walker's show, so I'm going to get out of the way.
Thank you, Beth. As she said, we've been here, this will be our third time, and we've made presentations over the overall densities and ideas for the project. Since we're all running short on time, if somebody has any questions about the project, because I think we've gone over this size, scope, and square footages and things like that several times.
Anybody have any questions? They came out last month to do a follow-up on it. And they told you that, there's going to be a retail and there's going to be housing across, but they're going with the retail first. And this is supposed to be a sit-down restaurant and other stuff that they brought to us back in April when they brought along this, and I think you had mentioned about.
Yes, the Reader's Digest version of this is this part of the project, we are part of the original ownership of Old Town. So what we're trying to do is fulfill the commercial part that we have been promising for a decade. So what we're looking to do here is to have an apartment complex up to 450 units on the back side of this part of the project. And what that's geared for is the term that we're using is urban apartments, and urban meaning things like studio apartments, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. We won't have anything bigger than 2 bedrooms because in another part of the subdivision with Eric's group, they're going to do more of a suburban family style apartment complex. So we're not in competition with one another. The center of the project is for a grocery store anchored shopping center that's not Food Line. I can say that out to everyone right now. To do that, we're going to have at least two major anchors and 2 minor anchors as far as the store goes. Local shops, small shops spread out with surrounded by greens and other bits of open space. Those of you that were alive when I brought this case up back in '03, remember that we had something called Restaurant Row that overlooked the golf course. Right, yeah. Well, the golf course is gone, but we still want to have Restaurant Row. So what we're looking to do here is a conglomeration of sit-down restaurants. We're not talking fast food. We're talking sit-down restaurants. And the idea is that we'll have a group of restaurants here, and underneath the power line, we're going to put a parking lot in there that all the restaurants can share, so we can get even bigger buildings onto those properties. On this side of the street is actually this project. So what I'll try to do is orientate it so we'll swap hands here. This road going into this project is this road right here. On this side of the project, because everything on this side of the property, including what we're doing and what Eric's doing, is pedestrian friendly, it's mixed use and all that kind of good stuff. On this side of the road is all the supportive stuff that everyone needs. Gas stations, pharmacies, banks, things like that. That's all on this side of South New Hope Road. And the other thing that it will have is an office component. We're not talking a strip shopping center or insurance agent. We're doing a zoning case to have the ability to do an office building that's up to 5 stories. So so we could be a bunch of little offices, or it could be one major anchor that lands here. There's a lot of open space and floodplain area that's around this here that will remain undeveloped. What we're committing to here is to have a greenway portion that's on our property that points toward the greenway that runs down, one day will run down Walnut Creek. And that also will bring the greenway across and run it into this project. So what we would love to have someone do, someone that works in that office, doesn't drive their car, walks down the street a quarter of a mile away to their apartment and stops to get something to drink or eat on the way home. That's what we want to do. That's what we think is important for this area. So having said that, the square footages and the uses are similar to what was done back in '03. We've changed it up given what was around us. And so, like I said, we've been here, this is our 3rd meeting. We do not have a Z number yet because the partnerships have been doing some land trading with each other about setting up the boundaries. So I wanted to get the final lots done and recorded before I got the Z number, so all that stuff would work out correctly. I'll probably have that worked out by the end of this week, and then we'll have a Z number here in the next 30 days, but we don't have one tonight. But I would appreciate you considering for a vote so we can move forward with this part of the project.
For some of you do not remember, don't forget this is a project that Councilman West started on back in 2003. And that included the golf course and all the other things. And it's changed from that. And I was talking to Councilman West, and I think they even got Councilwoman Crowder in on it. Mm-hmm. She attended the meeting with you all, and some of the conditions that they had in West, and they worked them out together. I think at our last meeting we did say this is something we want to see started, because the people that live off back in the back down there, we started calling it the Dust Bowl, because nothing was going up down there. And we wanted to see something to go up there. And this is their 3rd time out here. We got good info from you at the last meeting. And if it's okay with you, I'll turn it back over to you. And I would like to say we go ahead and have a vote on this, if you don't mind. Yes,
Is this right at Jones Sausage?
that's on the other part, that's right.
In South New Hope.
Yeah, New Oak Road, that vacant lot, well, all that area back out there, right, yeah. Don't get on the other side, it's where Amazon is going, on the other side of Johnson, yes,
Yeah,
okay.
this is Jones Sausage. It changed the name right at this is Rock Quarry.
Right at the light,
On
right.
Jones Sausage, the name changes and
Where
now it's
all
South
those
New Hope.
utility poles are?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
the cross-country power lines, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This won't have anything to do with the vote, but do you have a projection of, as far as what that Newtown area will bring in the way of jobs to there?
Well, the shopping center right now, we think is gonna be about 350,000 square feet in total. We have the apartment complex that we would need crews to obviously build that. The restaurants, we're hoping to get 6 or 7, so that's a full staff of waiters and cooks, and then the office complex next door, so we're hoping for thousands.
You're gonna widen that whole area though,
Rock,
right?
New Hope Church Road will be widened as well as Rock Quarry as part of the overall Old Town project. Yes.
Did I hear you mention housing other than apartments?
Not in what we're talking about here, what the Halley Group is doing on the other 500 acres of the project is going to be townhomes and single-family houses.
In this broader area. And that, in terms of the little bit that we're talking about for the Halley Group, you're probably not done with us yet in that the Halley Group brought the property at the end of December from a bank who had done the initial zoning. You may remember we were here last year on that zoning. And so they would like to tweak those conditions. We had talked to you a little bit about that. The existing conditions allow for up to 300 apartments, and it limits the apartments to seniors only. And so what they would like to do is change the conditions to allow up to 350 apartments and not restrict them to seniors. However, they do recognize that there is a need for senior housing, and so they would provide a commitment for at least 100 units of senior housing in the residential portion. And so, you know, we're going to be asking you to give us a sense of you know, your thoughts there, and to continue to talk with us as we move through the process to change the zoning ordinance on that residential piece.
Will there be access on the Rock Quarry Road that passes over New Hope, that goes out toward Florida? Because it turns into one lane.
Right. So you know, there will be, as a part of the development of the larger site, there will be significant widening of Rock Quarry here, which is going to make that better, because we have all been out there at 5 o'clock and know that it is an intersection that does not work well. And so, you know, there will be significant widening here and along South New Hope as well.
But not farther up Rock Quarry.
So the way that it works is you really widen your frontage. But as other properties develop and as the city comes in, there will be additional widening. Ultimately, South New Hope is planned to have, I believe, 2 additional lanes. I know it's another bridge across South New Hope that makes the ultimate connection. Another bridge across the creek that makes the ultimate section of the road. So that'll be coming. In addition, there will be internal streets that'll make a connection. There's one that runs roughly here and eventually will come out and connect to Borwell. So there'll be other opportunities for movement in this area.
Okay. Are we ready to vote?
I have a question. How is the Greenway going to cross New Hope?
We're thinking there's going to be a light here, and they'll come across at the intersection.
So you're not committing to some pedestrian connection across New Hope, other than the standard issue?
Yeah, it depends on the DOT. We're hoping to get the plateau at that intersection. That's what our application is.
You mean a bridge?
I'm sorry?
Do you see a bridge?
No, it's the when you're driving on a road, sometimes it has a flat plateau. It's almost like a speed bump on steroids that pedestrians run across. That's what we're looking for.
Okay, we got a hand back here. We got to have the vote.
What's your definition of senior housing? Yes.
55 or above.
55 above.
Yes.
Doesn't seem so senior to me anymore.
No reduced salary, nothing like that, or?
I don't think that's been worked out yet. But as far as the city's the city's view of age-restricted housing that's 55 and above.
Correct.
So we're addressing the city views, and then anything else other than that is something that's coming further down the road, a decision coming further down the road.
And then we also tell them to take up under consideration affordable housing.
Right, for housing.
But that's in the other part of the
That's in the other
project,
part of the
not the
project,
commercial
yes.
part.
Yes.
And you're doing apartments there too?
Yes.
So are those gonna be senior?
No.
No.
We're going, ours are going to be built for millennials and singles and young couples. That's what our apartment complex is going to be built for back here. Because that'll be like adjoining an existing shopping center, overlooking a shopping center.
Okay, you had a question.
My question is, when you said expand the lane, do you mean add additional lanes?
Yes.
Okay, and that's part of that written project, that you have to have those lanes, because it's already congested there.
Yes.
Especially like doing concerts and all that.
Right.
Okay.
That's part of it.
Okay, so Ira's gonna help me, count again. So, and you're only voting on the commercial, the retail space, right? Okay, so for that project, if you guys are in agreement with that project, please raise your hand.
Thank you.
Okay, I got 19.
Did you get the two in?
Yes, got that. Okay, if you are not in agreement, please raise your hand. Okay, if you are abstaining from voting, please raise your hand. 4. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, and now, back to, quickly, the, how you guys want to spend your, money.
Okay, you have two choices. I made a couple ideas. I went with the bags. We used to give those out for the people when they come to the meeting. And let the notebook be a part of the bag. See, that's two. And I think that should be part of, then we had a suggestion on the
sign?
We signed it. We signed it.
Okay, wait a minute, okay, hang on, let me just get it up here, and then you guys tell me which sign you're talking, and then we'll,
One question, the signs are reusable.
Yes.
And we'll be able to store them here.
Well, I don't know if you'll be able, that's something we'll have to ask Adam about, but they have a bag with a strap, and they are not heavy or cumbersome in any way. All right, so we're talking, which sign do you guys want? Do you want this feather or this, the retractable sign? Feather? Okay, all right.
Which one can you get more information on though?
It seems like it's about the same information, because that picture takes up a lot of the space, but it'll pretty much say, just like this one, but it'll say, of course, south, and then it'll have, the second Monday of each month.
Is that our yard sign?
I'm sorry?
Is that our yard sign?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. This is the sign that will go like out front of Sanderford Road, right in front of the center.
Have we decided that, does everybody agree on the feather? Because I don't like those things.
You don't like the feather? Okay, now the retractable one, that one is more used inside.
Okay.
So if you have that one, it's for folks who come into the center. If you have the other, it's more useful, outside. Folks see it flapping, they know, they'll see the, okay.
And don't forget also, when your homeowner associations and all that, you have signs. So take that up under consideration too, when you have it, right?
Okay, now, you have enough money to get both. Just saying. Spend it all. So you have enough money, and the bag, is this the bag or is this the bag? This the bag?
Yeah.
All right, so this bag.
Right.
All right, so that's about $250, and the notebooks.
Yeah.
And the notebooks. Okay, 250 and 250, okay, so
That's
now we
500.
don't have enough for everything. So which sign do we want? How many people want the feather?
I want the outside one.
Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 for the feather. How many for the retractable? 1 for the. Okay. Remember, this one has can be used outside.
At home?
No. Right here at the center. So it's gonna let people know it can go out right on the right of way, like right there. It can go there because it has a base and for outside, right? And it has a pole that you can stick down into the dirt, right? This one is for inside.
Let me make a suggestion. We're only trying to use money. I got them to go back and give us the money to use for the end of this fiscal year.
You get a whole
new one.
in
And
3
let's get a
weeks.
sample of them. And then we'll come back and say we want the order to hold them out.
Well, you know, we've got the signs that we sit out in the subdivision.
You have those?
Already anyway.
It's totally up to you.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm just addressing the outside, the feather sign.
Outside there.
We've already got them that we sit outside.
Okay, so I had 5 people that wanted the feather and 1 person that wanted the retractable. Yes, ma'am.